Was gone last week. I was in revival in Bellevue Baptist Church in Paducah, Kentucky. Had 6 people saved the last 2 days of revival. It was a wonderful experience to be there, and I really appreciate the opportunity you let me to be away. It's good to know that things are taken care of when I'm not here, and everybody did a great job. I do appreciate that. We're glad that you're here today. We want you to please stand as we sing together, Victory in Jesus, with a little bit of an upbeat tempo, because that's the way I like to do things around here when everybody's gone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sing with me, here we go.
If you give him a hard time, is all I can say. Just give him a hard time. But don't give him too hard a time, because he'll call me. Our pastor is in West Africa with 7 of our team members. I received this email during the night. Some of you guys probably got the same one, but I thought I'd give you an update. They did arrive at Freetown Friday night, and then Saturday morning, they're about 6 or 7 hours ahead of us in time. I think it's 6. I thought it was 7, but I believe it's 6. And they left early yesterday morning on about a 150-mile, 25-mile drive to Samaria, where we've been there for almost 10 years to be exact. And that doesn't sound like a lot of miles, but I've taken that trip. Some of the other guys have. It's about a 10-hour drive. So, but they got there safely. But I thought I'd give you an update. Today this is talking about today, they're 6 hours ahead of us, so it's the middle of the afternoon. Today we will be a special worship time with a great Thanksgiving service for our 10-year anniversary among the Susu. Pray that many of the Muslim Susus will come to celebrate with the believers. Pray that the gospel will come to light to them. We will parade through the village as a witness to all God has done the past 10 years, and that parade is going to be at nighttime with candlelight. Join us in giving praise to our great God as we celebrate how God worked through the partnership by growing a Susu church, providing the farm co-op, establishing a preschool and primary school at the Susu rebuilt after a terrible war, also providing clean a ministry of FBC Humboldt in the USA. Now they received that. I assume they got it in their worship service this morning, but they will cherish this. It's all about God. A few of us had the experience of going the first time 10 years ago, and I happened to be one of them. And we went over there and we found 2 or 3 believers, and now I believe there's 150, and we're growing and growing and growing. So God gets all the glory. So let me pray before we get the service started. Our Heavenly Father, again, just thank you for another great day. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for all that you are and all that you do in our lives. And Father, thank you for sending this team that just left Thursday. Continue to provide for them, to continue to give them what they need to have, give them security, give them safety, but more importantly, let them just be tuned into you and the will of God as they're over there, as they are taking light to a territory that has a lot of darkness. But there has been light established some 10 years ago, and we give you all the glory and honor for that. And I ask you, God, to open up hearts, open up minds, open up eyes, and just let people get a glimpse of what they're missing. Those Muslims who have, some cases, no idea, but they are participating today in a worship service and have participated, and we'll have one tonight. And I just ask that everyone over there will feel your presence. Be with the family members. Okay, today we are honored to welcome to our church service with us Dr. Ming Wang. He is a Harvard and MIT graduate, graduated with an MD, magna cum laude, and one of the few cataract and LASIK eye surgeons in the world today who holds a doctorate degree in laser physics. He has performed over 55,000 procedures, including on over 4,000 doctors. He is called the doctor's doctor. Ming grew up in China, and he came to this country with only $50. Today, he is a world-class eye surgeon and is the only surgeon in the state who performs 3D smile, 3D LASIK, 3D camera, 3D forever young lens, and 3D laser cataract surgery. But if you need to go to an eye doctor, I think you need to see Dr. Wang. He founded 2 501c nonprofit organizations, Wayne's Foundation for the Christian Outreach to China and Wayne Foundation for Sight Restoration, which to date has helped patients from over 50 states in the U.S. and 55 countries with all sight restoration surgeries performed free of charge. Dr. Wang was named the Kiwanis Nashvilleian of the Year for his lifetime dedication to helping blind orphan children from around the world. Dr. Wang has published 9 textbooks, holds several U.S. patents, and performed the world's first laser artificial corneal implantation. Please join me today in welcoming Dr. Ming Wang to our stage.
Today have more things than we ever had before. They have iPhone, iPads, all these things. Human nature is such that when you have lots of things, one is less motivated. But motivate them we must, because America's future depends on our kids. You know, to keep America strong, it's not an empty statement. It has to be backed up by substance. That means our kids has to really master the science and technology, the skill that can make America product competitive. That means kids has to have the knowledge about the rest of the world, and so that we can work together better with people from other countries. So how can we motivate our kids today at a time when they're no longer hungry? At the time that many of them take things for granted. You know, some kids, you know, oh, I deserve this, I should have that. That's a problem that we face as a nation. Today, I'd like to share a bit of my personal life story, From Darkness to Sight. The point is, and how much they need to appreciate it. So my presentation is called From Darkness to Sight. On your chair, there's the book. It's what I'm going to talk about. It's on sale for the foundation. It's $10. Foundation, as John said, helps blind orphan children. So afterwards, if you want to get a book, I'll be delighted to autograph for you in the foyer. Also on your chair, there's a black handout. These are the eye procedures that we provide. So this is free. The black handout is free. I would like to start out by showing a video for you about my biography, From Darkness to Sight. Mike, go ahead and start the next video. Maybe turn off the lights.
Difficulty, hardship. What do these words mean? Does everyone face them? Or only those who grow up on the wrong side of the tracks? Is it possible to overcome the painful memories of the past? Do you have to be a product of your own environment? And is change easy? Many do not realize that as a teenager, Ming had to fight valiantly to actually escape what some call one of history's darkest eras, China's Cultural Revolution. During this time, millions of innocent youth were deported to remote areas to face a life sentence of poverty and hard labor. Now the questions have changed. People are asking by the groves, how did you overcome such a dark past? Where did you draw your courage from? What challenges did you face along the way? Through his own tenacity and his parents' tireless efforts to provide a chance of freedom for their son, Ming eventually made his way to America with $50 in his pocket and an American dream in his heart, where against all odds, he would earn a PhD in laser physics and graduate magna cum laude with the highest honors from Harvard Medical School and MIT. From Darkness to Sight is a story of one man's inspirational journey of turning fear, poverty, persecution, and prejudice into healing and love for others. It demonstrates how focus, determination, humility, and profound faith can inspire a life that, in turn, impacts that of countless others. To order your copy of Dr. Wang's riveting autobiography
was only $15. So we're very, very poor. And Mom and Dad always taught me that the way to get out of poverty is education. So it was in a family that focused on education, where education was everything, when in 1966, disaster occurred. Next slide. In 1966, the communist government, the dictators in China, decided the best way to keep on dictating is to keep people ignorant. The best way to keep people ignorant is to actually shut down all universities and colleges of entire nation for 10 years. And they forcefully deported every single high school graduate to the poorest part of the country and condemned each one of us a life sentence of hard labor and poverty. Over 10 years of Cultural Revolution, a cultural holocaust, they destroyed the future of 20 million young people. Next slide. So 1974, I was 14 years old. I finished my 9th grade. I was a straight A student because Mom and Dad always said, study hard, man. So I never had a B, but that made no difference. The deportation order came down to me from the government. After 9th grade, I got kicked out of school. I remember I was playing the piece with the Chinese violin, piece written by a blind artist. He wrote this beautiful piece depicting the sea at night. You see the moon shining down, reflecting on two springs converging. It's called Two Springs Reflecting the Moon. It was a very beautiful piece, not only because the natural beauty that piece was depicting, but it was an imagined beauty, because the composer who wrote it could not see. He was imagining how beautiful it could have been if he could see. So the whole piece, Two Springs Reflecting the Moon, was very sad, filled with unfulfilled longing and hope. At age 14, I should be like any other teenager looking to a lifetime of possibilities and excitement. I, together with 20 million young people, were condemned to the bottom of society, losing all hope for future. I had to play this instrument every day, piece written by this blind artist, Two Springs Reflecting the Moon, resonating with the sad feeling of the blind composer. He couldn't see physically, I could not see mentally any future. Can you imagine a 14-year-old? You know, it's interesting that decades later, I end up becoming an eye doctor, and I have devoted my life to help people escape labor camp, being allowed to stay in the cities, but my dancing practice was discovered and stopped as well by the government. You know, to put into perspective, sometimes these days, friends in America come and talk to me and say, "Oh, Ming, so nice. You have a hobby, you can dance, you can play an instrument. Nice to have these hobbies." You know what I say? I didn't learn these as hobbies. I learned it to survive. So I tried everything, all failed. My fate was labor camp and deportation and life sentence of hard labor and poverty. When I was about to be actually sent away, next slide, 1976, the communist dictator died. The communist dictator died. All of a sudden, China woke up, realizing what a tragic mistake it has made by having destroyed the future of 20 million young people, having Cultural Revolution for 10 years, shutting down all colleges. So they stopped the Cultural Revolution, they reopened all the colleges. And remember, Mom and Dad came home one day. They said, "Ming, you might be able to go back to school." I thought I'd never be able to hear that in my lifetime. I said, "Really, when?" Mom said, "Maybe tomorrow." I said, wow, should I go back to 9th grade? Because 3 years ago, I was 14 years old. I got kicked out of school after 9th grade, despite being a straight A student. In the last 3 years next year, and participate for college exam 3 years from then. Rather, I had to kill myself like this, jumping overnight three grades ahead, having already suffered so much in the preceding 3 years, from age 14 to 17. I said, "You guys are crazy." Mom said, "We're not crazy." She said, how long did the communists shut down colleges?" I said, 10 years, from 1966 to 1976, the Cultural Revolution. She said, "Okay, now they did reopen all the colleges, all right, but it's a guarantee. They will not shut down colleges again next year for another 10 years. And I said, "Mom, you're right. It's a dictatorship. They can do whatever they want. There's no freedom. There's no freedom." So Mom said, "You got it right. Either you try to go to college right now this year, or you may never be able to." So I knew I have to do it, jumping 3 years overnight. And I got so stressed out. How could I do it? I said, "It's impossible." Mom and Dad said, "We're going to help you." During daytime, they were working very hard. At night, they borrowed many old exams of previous years, like decades ago. But we were so poor that we didn't have money to Xerox anything like that. So Mom and Dad found an American professor with enough money gathered together from relatives for one-way airplane ticket. I didn't have money to go back if it didn't work out. With a student visa, I was dropped off at National Airport, Washington, D.C. With that $50, with a Chinese-English dictionary, knowing no one in this country, could hardly speak English, but with a big American dream. Next slide. I had the good fortune of attending some of the wonderful schools in this country since then. Next slide. but my work in the last 30 years serving my patients have been inspired by the appreciation of freedom, appreciation of America. Next slide. You know, the instrument I played during Cultural Revolution to escape labor camp, it truly has become a hobby. But even dancing, you know, we have a Psi Foundation, as John mentioned. With all the doctors, we donate our services. And to date, we have helped patients, most blind orphan children, from over 55 countries around the world. And once a year, our foundation has an event, a ball, a gala, the purpose of which is to raise money to help people see. How would you call that ball? Eyeball. Next slide. So once a year, we have an eyeball. And when you come to eyeball, so several years ago, as they were getting older, in their 70s, I moved both of them in to live with me for the rest of their lives. They took care of me as a teenager. I want to take care of them in their sunset years. I give this presentation to schools, to children all the time. And I told them that I learned two things. Number one, through my Cultural Revolution experience, love your parents. They love you. They have the best interest, your best interest in their hearts. They have been there. They have suffered. Kids can be so much better served if we listen to our parents. Fortunately, I did at the end of Cultural Revolution, even though the task of jumping 3 years ahead overnight was so difficult. But fortunately, I did listen to my parents. Now I have today. And second pearl I've learned through my surviving Cultural Revolution is when opportunities come in life, don't squander it, because it may never come again. Kids today sometimes say, oh, I can do that tomorrow. I will do that later. I'll have another chance. But life is such that when opportunity, lots of kids today always say, I deserve this, I should have that. But motivate them we must. There are so many challenges we face as a nation. Technologically, scientifically, the rest of the world is catching up so quickly. And also, America's idea, democracy, the freedom, our beliefs, Christian faith, that requires our next generation to be more motivated, more driven to keep America strong. But by protecting these ideals, by protecting our freedom. How can we motivate our kids at a time when they have more things than we ever had before, at a time when many of them do take things for granted? There's no easy solution, but I think maybe, just maybe by encouraging little Johnny or Nancy to read the real life story. What I've just told you this morning is not a fiction. This is what I've gone through. To feel the pain and suffering of another youngster who at Johnny's age, at age 14, has lost everything. Despite being a straight A student, after 9th grade, got kicked out of school, never allowed to go back, has to be subject to be deported to labor camp. Fought against that, came to this country, played music, learning dancing, or to avoid labor camp. But eventually came to this country with only 50 to work harder in school in America by appreciating more what they have. As I mentioned, it's $10. The money goes to the foundation. Foundation helps blind orphan children. And after the presentation, I'll be in the foyer signing the book. So I came to this country after surviving Cultural Revolution as an atheist. I fought so hard to get a chance to study science, and I was not about to allow anything distract me. Have you seen this movie, God's Not Dead? It's a great movie. In that movie, there's a little cute little Chinese student. That was me in that movie. So his story was inspired by my life story. So I came to this country as an atheist, and I was studying very hard. And then realized that as I was studying medicine in Boston, and I realized that human eye, I wanted to be an eye doctor because I got my doctorate degree in laser physics, and I was getting my second doctorate degree in medicine. I thought combine laser, medicine, I could be a good laser eye surgeon. So I was studying medicine and realized that human eye is so complicated. It would take much, much longer time to form if one based on the atheist belief of random events. It did not form out of randomness. It was a form with a specific purpose for vision. There's a designer behind it. He showed me that life is not just about science. Life is also about faith, Christian faith. He gave me my first Bible, and I became a Christian, and I started my walk following Jesus Christ, teaching. And from science standpoint, I want to tell you a little bit about what we do with science. Next slide. These are textbooks that are published over the years in cataract and LASIK surgery fields. Next slide. One of the questions I get from patients all the time is, am I too old for these procedures? I want to tell you the answer. The oldest patients that I've done with laser vision correction that help her was 107. So all of you are too young, way too young. Actually, you know there are lots of things you can do to keep your eyes young, right? And one of the, Miss Moore, she is 107, but she looked like 75. So she's a lot younger than her age. But also today, we're seeing another group of patients who are younger, but their eyes are older than their age. The other day, I saw a patient who is 55, and we measured his eyes. We took 2 to 3 hours, and all the instruments measured out his eyes almost equal to almost 90 years old. Unprecedented wide use of cell phones in human history. It has to change the way we live. When you look at cell phone for a prolonged period of time, what you're doing to your eyes, you're freezing your accommodating muscle at a fixed distance. This is equivalent to holding your arms for 30 minutes without relaxing. That's not good for your arm muscles. So what happens is that people who use their eyes a lot with cell phones and not pay attention to how to maintain and not abuse it, their eyes can age faster. And that's the reason the 55-year-old end up to have 90-year-old eyes. So then you say, Dr. Wang, I love my cell phone. I cannot live without my cell phone. What should I do? There are 2 things you can do. Number 1, 20-20-20 rule. Every reading cell phone 20 minutes, take a break for 20 seconds, and look at an object at least 20 feet away. Because you need to let the muscle relax. Then you say, Dr. Wang, wait a minute. You mean more I abuse my muscle, faster it will age? Well, let me ask you. One thing I found to be universally true. I've never seen a single exception. The older we get, the more body parts start breaking down. Right? Have you ever seen an exception? And then you see why. Much, much longer with less strain and less wear and tear. Next slide. So, floaters. Floaters can be treated. Doctors, for the longest time been telling patients, oh, you have to live with it. Next slide. So floater can be taken care of by lasers. And Mike, 2 slides before, the cell phone eye syndrome. So then you say, Dr. Wang, you mean if I do the right thing, I can actually keep my eyes young or possibly younger than my date of birth age? Yes. Things that you can do that indeed can keep yourself young. So I'm going to tell you about Miss Moore. I told you she's 107. She looked like 75. So I got very interested in her because I want to know what's her secret. So one day when she came to see me, I said, Miss Moore, actually I put a Forever Young lens in her eyes, and I said, I'm going to take care of you for the next 50 years. So she came in one day. I said, Miss Moore, I have a question. She said, yes. Little bitty lady, very skinny, coming to see me every day. She said, I said, Miss Moore, I want to know what's your secret. 107 look like 75. What's your secret? How can you keep yourself so young? She said, look at all of them. Every time she came to see me, she brought a big entourage of family members. And she never failed to introduce every single one of them to me every single time. But the point is that there are things you can do. There are things you can do. If you don't want to not having kids, but there are things you can do to keep your eyes young. If you use cell phones, 20-20-20 rule, or get your eyes fixed if you wear glasses and contact lenses. Now, we're faced with many challenges today. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Have you heard of the disease called macular degeneration? Macular degeneration. Macular degeneration, diabetes, glaucoma. These are 3 leading causes of blindness for patients over age 65. Macular degeneration is very difficult to treat. Do you know why? The reason the macular degeneration, and for that matter, glaucoma and diabetes, the 3 leading causes of blindness for patients over age 65, are very difficult to treat is because they are aging conditions. In order to treat an aging condition, you have to use young tissue, fetal tissue. What should we do? Next slide. On one hand, we say we should use fetal tissue to help elderly. How can we justify hurting a baby? Especially as Christian brothers and sisters, Bible says that life is sacred, called faith principles. Let me share with you my personal journey in this regard in the last 20 years, trying to figure out what was the right thing to do. I have become a Christian already then, and I was studying the eye, the technology to restore sight. Then I realized that the only way to help this elderly is to use young tissue, and I did not want to hurt the baby, the fetus. But I don't want to see Miss Moore getting blind without getting helped. So the question is, should we or should we not use fetal tissue? And my next video, thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ming Wang, and I'm here to tell a story. And through the story, I want to ask one of life's greatest questions. Are faith and science friends or foes? In today's world, faith and science are often at odds with each other. For example, regarding stem cell and fetal wound healing research, faith dictates that we should leave the embryo and the fetus alone and should not conduct such research. We were conducting corneal wound healing research and found that in contrast to an adult eye, which scars after injury, resulting in the loss of sight, a fetus can actually heal without scar. As an eye doctor, I really want to help my patients restore their sight. But I was also struggling with my moral conscience and faith. How can I take life away from an unborn child? We agonized over this dilemma, to the point that we were at our wits' end, and I nearly gave up on the whole fetal wound healing research project. There just seems to be no solution at all. I asked God. James 1:4 says, "Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete." I needed to know that it was going to be a long and arduous journey, that the right solution is often the most difficult one. We began looking at this problem from different angles and perspectives, and stumbled upon the amniotic sac, a casing which holds the baby before the baby is born and is disposed of after the child is born. Is it possible the amniotic membrane may in fact contain the ingredient of scarless fetal wound healing process? Excited at this possibility, we began a series of experiments. Finally, after 16 years, uniting them rather than splitting, can we actually find a new, unexpected, and more powerful solutions to the problems in our lives?
So that's what we do now. We wait until after the baby is born and take the placenta, which is discarded anyway, recover the placenta, bring them back in the laboratory, bioengineer the placenta amniotic sac into placenta amniotic contact lenses, then put these youthful placenta amniotic contact lenses onto older patients' eyes, so the eyes can heal like a baby. One placenta donated by one mother after giving birth to a child, placenta is discarded anyway, can be made into 100 little amniotic contact lenses. Therefore have the potential to save eyesight in 100 older adults. I truly believe God loves us. He wants us to improve the quality of our lives. And the quality of life is improved today through medical research. But He wants us to do it in the right way. Oh, by the way, there's a little email pad passing around. If you put your email there, we will send you placenta donation information. If you know any young lady who is going to give birth to a child who will not mind donating the placenta, it's discarded anyway, we'll love to.
The Wang Foundation for Sight Restoration is bringing sight to the corneal blind. Established to help indigent patients cover their expenses, the foundation is giving sight to people who can't afford eye reconstructive surgeries. The foundation is a registered nonprofit 501c3 organization. The Foundation for Sight Restoration's Medical Council doctors provide free care to foundation patients in need of experimental and novel eye reconstructive surgeries. The foundation has received requests from 40 different states in the U.S. and 55 different countries around the world. The foundation's purpose is to provide care for terminally blind patients where there is no available treatment with traditional technologies. The foundation raises funds throughout the year, but holds their major event, the Eyeball, in autumn. The foundation uses the contributions to pay for medical expenses for patients. No foundation funds are used to pay for professional services rendered by the Medical Council physicians. What's more, the Foundation for Sight Restoration funds new research.
Our foundation's focus is to help blind, orphan children. It's hard to imagine more deserving human beings than blind, orphan children. As I mentioned earlier, that when people ask me why I spend so much time helping blind, orphan children, and my answer is that they are suffering, and I used to suffer myself. Next slide. You know, China today is a totally different country in terms of economically. It's very fast developing. In the last 30 years, China has almost single-handedly taken a quarter of human race out of poverty. But despite its economic development, if you go to China today, you ask people that, you say, what's the number one problem? Most people will tell you, corruption. Because in the face of a tremendous economic development and the temptation of material wealth, if one does not have strong moral compass, corruption will occur. In fact, out of 1.4 billion people in China, 95% are not Christians. I truly believe the fundamental difference between someone who believes in Christ, someone is atheist. I think the fundamental difference is the person who truly believes in Christ knows that even when no other human being is watching me, you know what? God is. They're nurturing, strengthening. Otherwise, it will just, that the interest will just subside down. In fact, today, many kids today in universities, that they're studying science, they think, oh, I don't need to know Jesus Christ. And I go to talk to them, to share with them that my life has changed since I've become a Christian. So, therefore, it's important that we need to continue nurturing, continue fellowship, continue receive God's teaching every day, every week, in order to keep our strength of our faith. So these Chinese who got one of our Bibles, then we leave, our volunteer left, and they are surrounded by 95% people who are not Christians. It's a hostile environment for Christians. So what we do is we get email addresses here and disperse these email addresses among Christian brothers and sisters here. So all of us have the opportunity, if you want to, one-on-one pen pal, using email technology, communicate, nurture, fellowship, support a budding Christian there who has received one of our Bibles but who is surrounded by an environment which is not supportive for Christian faith. Our China Bible Project has the potential. China, how did this professor do it? How did he open my window to Christ? And I'll show you a little clip of one of our foundation's recent patients. Last video, thank you.
In its opening weekend, the movie God's Not Dead brought in an astounding $9.2 million, making it the 10th all-time highest box office Christian movie hit. And now, in its second straight week, it continues to smash expectations and has brought in an additional $9 million. And you may not know it, but this small budget film that's getting big national attention has a local connection. Take a look.
This semester I propose that we refuse to waste our limited time together debating the existence of the big man in the sky. Fill in the papers I've just given you with 3 little words. God is dead.
I can't do what you want, I'm a Christian.
It's the story of a college student who defends God in front of his atheist professor and classmates. One of his peers he influences is a character inspired by the life of a local doctor.
The character Martin in the movie basically paralleled the life of my own. Pastor Rice actually texted me with a photo of Martin, and he said, okay, Ming, here's the guy who's going to play you. And I replied, I said, oh, at least he's better looking.
What happens in Martin's heart is something Dr. Wang remembers well.
So I grew up in China as atheist and during what they call Cultural Revolution. From 1966 to 1976, the communist government decided the best way to govern is to destroy the future of all of these young people.
His fate was a lifetime of hard labor and poverty.
So right then, he opened a window in my life.
Think of Jesus as my friend. You think Jesus is God.
I saw the truth and began to open myself to faith. And same thing happened, Martin opened himself. And there's some overlap of Joshua's character with me in the book as well. In a sense, the evidence that I talk about in the book, supporting the existence of God, these evidence, the words were put into the mouth of Joshua, and he was the one who actually voiced and presented this evidence.
Dr. Wang says he finally figured out that science and faith work hand in hand.
Science is about what things are, and faith is about why things are.
Now, Dr. Wang's faith in Jesus Christ inspires everything he does. Just last year, he performed a miraculous surgery on a 15-year-old orphan from Moldova, Maria.
De la 7 ani am ajuns la școală și când am ajuns cu problemele de vedere, îmi părea că o să fie totul închis, nu o să am prieteni, dar totul s-a ales prin puterea lui Dumnezeu.
The summer of 2012, My husband and I were fortunate to be able to take our family, ourselves and our children, and that I realized that she had something just terribly wrong with her eyesight. I could tell.
A year after eyeball 2012, that when we first heard about Maria, Maria came to the United States and walked into our One Vision 3D cataract and LASIK center. We sat down and I plotted out the whole sight restoration surgical plan and involved 10 different steps. Each of the steps can have two possible outcomes, success or failure. And we can only get to the next step if the previous step is perfect or successful. I know that that's a very small possibility for humans, but God is powerful. Got it. We got it. And guess what? It happened. God created a miracle. The surgery went beautifully.
I see Maria.
I would like to end my presentation by playing a couple of short pieces for you with the Chinese violin that I played during Cultural Revolution to escape labor camp as a 14-year-old. And the first piece I'd like to play for you is the very same piece that I play as a 14-year-old, written by the blind artist, called Two Springs Reflecting the Moon. It was a beautiful piece, as I mentioned, not only because of the natural beauty it was depicting, the moon shining down, reflecting on two springs converging, but it was an imagined beauty because the composer who wrote it could not see. He was imagining how beautiful it could have been if he could see. So the whole piece was sad, filled with unfulfilled longing and hope. Remember I mentioned that I played this instrument as a 14-year-old to escape labor camp, trying to get into the communist song and dance propaganda troupe after being taken out of school after 9th grade. This is a Chinese violin. This is a sound box covered with a snake skin and two strings. It only got two strings, and the bow sits between the two strings. So you can only strike one string at any one time in the country with freedom. And how much we need to stand up, protect America's freedom. So ladies and gentlemen, excerpt from the piece, Two Springs Reflecting the Moon. I appreciate so much the opportunity to spend my time today with my fellow Christian brothers and sisters. I appreciate Pastor Kevin's invitation, John's introduction, and all my brothers and sisters here to give me the opportunity to share my story. I have 3 take-home messages. Number 1, my focus today is for our children, our grandchildren. Number 1, we're living in such a blessed country. God has blessed America with freedom. It's just like a human being. If we're born with something, we tend to take for granted. Let's remind ourselves, once again, how blessed we are. In America, we have freedom. And how much we need to appreciate God's blessing. If we put God in the middle, in the center of our existence, in the center of our conscience as a nation, America will be kept strong. Don't forget that foundation. Second take-home message is for our kids that love your parents. They love you. Dr. Wang, I can be a good engineer if I just study hard in university colleges. I don't need to know Jesus Christ. I can be a good engineer as long as I study hard. My answer is, through my own life experience, I've learned that, yes, science gives me the foundation, give me the tools, but Christian faith, the belief in Christ, give me a sense of purpose. Why I study all that science technology for? I truly believe that God sees me go through suffering, cultural revolution. Now, He wants to use me for His kingdom's glory. In this case, I truly believe He wants me to help others who are suffering. Use the science and technology. So that inspiration to help others, those who need the most help, who are blind, orphan children, that came from Christian faith. So I tell the students, yes, you can be a good scientist or engineer if you study hard in university today. Yes, but what I've learned through my life experience, you can be a better one if you know Jesus Christ. So I want to play one more piece, and this piece I will play twice. Second time, I like everyone to jump in. So I'll play once, and second time, everyone jump in. So as I'm getting together my Chinese everybody.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes. lift it up. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Let's see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love. Holy, 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 holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. I want to see you.
Thank you for watching the church at Sugar Creek in Humboldt, Tennessee. Please let us know if you've been blessed by this ministry by calling our church office, 731-784-8